Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another episode. This is the episode 6 recap for the current season of the challenge, Battle for a New Champion. And my guest co-host today, joining me today, is Miss Nikki Sin. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's nice to finally meet you formally, of course. I feel like you and I have both existed sort of in the same sphere, but have never officially crossed paths, I guess you could say, in a setting such as this, which it felt sort of like it would happen at some point. But if I got to be honest here, the one glaring thing that made me be like, I got to make this happen sooner than later is just, this kind of self-explanatory right here.
Ghostface, baby.
Yeah. That was the one driving point that made me be like, all right, we got to get this done now. So glad to have you here.
We have to get it done before the 7th movie. We were ranking our favorite screams before this.
Yeah, this was the thing, guys. This is serious business. No, before we get into the episode though, I would like to, allow you to kind of talk sort of just briefly how long have you been sort of involved in, covering the show, and sort of what's the basis of what you've done as far as the whole blogging and such goes?
Well, thank you. I love any chance to self-promote. Shameless self-promote.
Shameless plug.
But I used to write for this website called the Wax Museum, and I started doing interviews called TMI Thursday. At that point it was Thursdays. And I thought, okay, why don't I interview reality TV people that I like? So I reached out to, and I wish I could censor his name, but I reached out to Zach. Not a big Zach fan. I'm going to say it right now.
That's actually I think that's it might have been the first blog of yours that I actually saw. That's what's really funny. I think when I searched you up, that's the one that came up.
That's the very first MTV one that I did in 2015, and then I was like, oh, for me it was easy to get these interviews, because at this point it wasn't a big thing to be interviewing people from the challenge and from real world and whatnot. And for some reason, I found it easy to put myself out there and just be like, hey, listen, if they reply, great. If they don't reply, all right. I can live with that. So then I just sort of continued that. And then when I branched off and created thenickysin.com for my own, my own branding instead of the Wax Museum, I started doing TMI Tuesdays. And yeah, since then I've just been I sort of reach out to people that have a lot of controversy on their shows, because I like to really get the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Gina Marie from Big Brother is not a big fan of mine, because I openly called her a racist when I was interviewing her, because she is racist, and there's evidence of that for being on the show. But I find it so interesting to talk to people that are on these shows that are experiencing these things, and really get an inside view.
Yeah, for sure.
I just sort of kept up with that.
Yeah, no, you definitely hit it on the head. Obviously I wasn't covering it at that point, but here and there, if I'm in the rabbit hole, I'll see some stuff that'll pop up in my recommended, and it'll be an interview with a real world person from 2015, 2014, even 2013. The market was so different back then compared to what it was now, because you gotta remember at that point, the whole term influencer didn't really exist. There really wasn't no gain for them, or loss for them, I should say, by doing these interviews. So you've definitely, I feel you've gotten to see sort of how the content creator sphere's kind of grown in the past decade or so, I'd say.
It's crazy. I remember when I was doing Caffeine Confessionals, shout out Alan, Luke, Zoe, I found it harder to get interviews with people from these shows, because it's sometimes they'd be like, okay, it's $2,000 to interview them. I'm like, I'm not paying you $2,000 to talk about yourself. What do you mean? You pay me.
No, yeah, I wanted to ask you though, since you've obviously seen sort of the show in multiple different forms now, it goes without saying that the show that we're seeing today is vastly different than the show we even saw like 10 years ago and even 5 years ago, right? Like it's honestly, I'd even argue it's different than 2 years ago, but like it's changed so much. That's the point I'm trying to make. Um, for you, what was like something that like you look for when coming into a season? Either something, it could have been something that you gravitated towards initially and that like you kind of look for in like seasons to come back. Like what is something that draws you or is important to you when going into a challenge season?
I think I'm going to show my age with it, but I'm definitely like a big fan of the old school sort of setup of things. So like I like a good deliberation. I miss sort of when they were all sitting on couches like way too close to each other, like face to face, and just like screaming at each other about who they wanted to throw in. I also like a good party night in each episode because I want to see them sort of outside of this competitive element, but remembering that you're always in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah, no,
I noticed they'll like in this episode, for example, they were like giving each other lap dances and like pounding back shots and dancing and having fun, and then it would immediately go to like one person being like, okay, but who should we send in? And so I like seeing them remember that they're always in the game. And that's what's always so interesting about the challenge is that like it really takes the components of all these different competitive reality shows where it's like you're always in it. There's no breaks. Maybe when you're sleeping, but maybe not. So that's something I look for. I find now it's little too based too much on athletics. And I know that's because, they're like, oh, it's the fifth national sport. And like, I'm all for that. I'm somebody that likes competitive sports. Big wrestling fan. Like I like something I get to yell at a screen about. But I think it's too focused on that now, and we're not getting enough social element.
Mm-hmm.
And again, social element is something that I look for too. I think that's why, newer challengers now, like Michelle's really good socially because she played a really social game on Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that I really look for. I'm all for these like headbangers, go at each other. This episode, there's some mud pit wrestling.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a little bit more strategy.
All the points you just hit on are exactly points that I've been kind of, harping on lately too, is because the whole like aspect of, like you said, about seeing them in the club, we saw kind of like, and we saw them party here and there, but for the most part, I'd say prior to this season, we had seen like a really big, just serious tone. I felt like when it came to like, especially from Total Madness onward, they like tried to make it very like action movie centric and tried to make it like very, very serious. Like they were calling TJ the handler. There was like explosions left and right, all this spy crap. Like I don't need that when it's like a reality show. Like I get it. If I want to go watch a movie, I can do that. But if I'm coming to watch a reality competition, I get that there's a competition aspect, and I'm all for that. But I'm more all for people that I could actually like relate to personally doing these things, as opposed to like almost like a character of like not even like that, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't like root for or feel like an emotional relation to want to root for someone on the show if I can't identify or like relate to them. Like if I don't like, it just doesn't really seem authentic. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And it feels like the cast members are sort of having to play up to these characters they have to play, because the goal like I'm gonna obviously compare, the challenge to the other shows that people come from, but like Survivor, the goal of Survivor is to like outwit, outplay, outlast.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to win that specific. You want to win the $1 million. Big Brother, same thing. The goal is to like socially and mentally manipulate people so that you can screw them over but still have them vote for you to win all this money. But with the challenge, like, it kind of seems like people now, like, their main goal is to make sure that they get enough drama or they get enough camera time to, like, be cast in the next season. And that's not something that I'm, like, particularly looking for. Like, I feel like with, older cast members, like, I'll put Laurel up, for example. She's just she's naturally the type of person that is really good on camera, really good competitively, and it doesn't feel forced.
Mm-hmm.
And we do get that with some of the newer cast members. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm being forced to watch them.
Yeah. No, but that's a thing that like didn't even like people were going on these shows not with the intention that like I'm gonna have to do this because it's gonna get me a call back. Like nobody was worried about callbacks at that point. They were all living in the moment and like kind of taking the show game, whatever you want to call it, like for what it was at face value back then versus like it seems like there's like a hidden agenda each time with people that go on these shows and it's kind of shown through. Now I will say, and we'll obviously get into this episode and I'm sure it'll come up, but I don't know your stance, but I'm actually kind of enjoying this season better than probably the last handful of seasons, I think. I don't know if you know what your thoughts are, but for me, I kind of feel like with them getting rid of like these explosions and like sort of going back to like a little bit of like a basic simple formula has like definitely like opened things up a lot more, I will say. And I feel like there hasn't been like these like for the most part like out of this world like hard competitions. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
feel
like,
like
they need to cut the explosion budget down. Like,
yeah.
use it for something else. Use it to throw theme parties for them.
No,
I don't need
literally.
every comp being an explosion at the end.
I feel like I've watched most of these eliminations and challenges, and they've been like hard enough, but not like inconceivably hard to the point where like you couldn't do them. Like on some of the past shows, like I don't need to see somebody in there like on All Stars, for example. Like I mean that's fine too, but like they had some challenges like with all these like moving trucks and whatever. It's like I don't need to see like these parents jumping from like these like fucking like pickup trucks that are moving like 150 miles an hour.
They've gone from like minivan to like tank.
Yeah.
I don't need to
Well,
see people throwing their backs out trying to do something, like someone almost getting electrocuted
yeah.
just so they can win an elimination. I don't need to see that. I do like a good balance of like something
Hmm.
really physical and something really strategic.
Hmm. Right. No, I'm sort of the boat that I'm in. But I want to kind of get into this episode now. So, we saw it kind of pick up with Horacio and Nurys, and obviously those that pay any close attention on social media know that in real time they are actually a couple. So we're seeing kind of like how that couple came to be now, and I'm a sucker for a good rom-com. So if they want to keep showing this romance blossom, by all means, go ahead because
I'm a hater to my core. I'm like, stop forcing this relationship on me. But I
not
think
a
that
not a fan of it.
I think it's difficult because, with social media we can follow along with their current lives, and so it's
Hmm.
like it feels like old news.
Hmm.
So it's like
Yeah, yeah,
it feels kind of boring for me to be like,
yeah.
okay, like how did this relationship come to be? And it's like they're like all over each other on social media. And that's not me saying like, oh, you shouldn't show anything that's happened post season. Save it for the fans to see later, because I feel like that would just be like as in authentic as it
Hmm.
is. But I don't know. I don't like a forced. I don't want to see a forced relationship. And I'm sure whatever they have is very authentic. I can't speak on it. I don't know either of them personally.
Hmm. Right. No, I mean, I thought that because the way they're like kind of sending the story is sort of like Horacio being like more reserved and like Nurys being like the opposite of that, is like more like the outgoing one. And I think that it's pretty cool for them to kind of, because you're so used to seeing like with the history of this show, a lot of the guys are like, you know, we've seen a lot of variations of like toxic masculinity, like, you know, guys that are like fuck boys and all this other stuff. So like, I
And
mean,
they never get a bad rap.
yeah, no,
That always pisses me off that they're like, look how many people this girl hooked up with. And I'm like, look how many people Corey hooked up with.
right.
That's nothing against any of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Get your dicks, get your licks, get whatever,
Yeah.
you know, whatever floats your boat there. But I'm not yucking anyone's yum.
No, yeah, like I don't know. I think it's a like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, you know, Horacio makes like the most compelling reality television. However, I will say that like it's actually a tad bit refreshing to see, you know, a male on this show not be like status quo or like paint by like not paint by the numbers, but you get what I mean. Like
Yeah.
if like hypothetically he was more like of a go-getter in the situation. It's not anything we haven't seen over the course of the past like 20 something years. So the fact that like he actually is like more like on the, you know, timid side, and we're seeing like, you know, sort of the girl doing like most of the, you know, initiating of it, or
Which
at least
I love.
yeah, like, you know, there's this like, and I'm not saying this should be the case like all the time in real life, but like I don't know, I think there's like a thing like where guys are expected to kind of like always go after the girl, like, or make
Yeah.
the first move, like, which is, you know, completely normal. Like, I mean, but I feel like it could kind of be like an even split. Like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
You have to, every once in a while, there needs to be a Kirby in the situation, a Kirby read where it's like, now would be a good time to make a move.
Right.
For I'm those referencing Scream 4.
Yeah, Scream.
That isn't obsessed, but
yeah, then we cut to like the alliance that I think nobody knew about, and it's like really surprising because they kind of called it the Fantastic Four with you know, Nurys, Michelle, and Jay, which that makes sense. Like, I knew they were friends, and
yeah.
I knew that Jay was friends with Aesop, but Aesop's like kind of been doing this thing. We saw later in the episode with kind of how he was talking with Callum too. I gotta say, I actually have kind of enjoyed Aesop on this show. I actually have, because, and the reason why, context matters here. And when I mean context, I mean this guy's coming onto the show with a wife and a kid. Traditionally, we've seen dads come, or parents in general, let's just say, have come onto these shows and like either just laid low, not really gotten involved, like just kind of getting their paycheck and then kind of going home, you know, which is fine. Like, not everybody has to do that. I get there's a human aspect to it, but from a television perspective, the fact that Aesop's finding ways to stay involved in the social aspect, actually trying to play the game, providing entertaining TV, I can appreciate that as a viewer because he doesn't have to do that. And I've actually enjoyed him on this show quietly.
I love it. He's like so chaotic. And I guess I just didn't know that he had this in him.
No, because we saw him.
Last time we saw him,
Total Madness, I felt
flicked off there.
I felt like he was super quiet on Total Madness, aside of like, I mean, he had a little thing with Nani, but it wasn't like groundbreaking. Like, he was kind of like just doing his own thing for the most part. And now we're seeing him on this challenge. I got the chance to actually interview him the other day, and he actually said that it was really funny. He said that he was telling the girls at the airport, like, he said his game started at the airport, and he was telling like Michelle and Olivia and whoever else, like, oh yeah, you know, my wife watches you on the show, they really like you, but like she had no idea who they were. Like, so he was just telling them this stuff.
I love that. That's so camp. Yes.
I live for that kind of messiness.
Yes. Lie.
Like,
that's what we want.
That's no, I said last week too. Like with the Corey fight between him and Corey on episode 5, we needed that as viewers. Like, I feel like the level of male
Corey needed that as a storyline.
No, yeah, like the the level of male entertainment that we haven't been, like I feel like a lot of the guys in recent years have been like holding back. I feel like so
Yeah, they leave it all to Josh and Fessy to like what I
just
call
like
like have their brotherly fight where it's like they're gonna get right in each other's faces, and then I'm like, but they're part of the Vacation Alliance. They're just gonna head off to
yeah.
Cabo later.
Yeah, like we need this as viewers to kind of have something to sink our teeth into. Um, oh, so we talked about Corey, obviously, and then we get to the conversation between him and Michelle, where that was a whole big thing on the last episode. What did you think about that? Like, do you feel like Michelle had like a right to be as mad as she was about Corey voting for Aesop?
I think yes and no. So I think it was more of a heat of the moment thing where it's like you're like really mad then, and tensions are probably very high when you're at eliminations. But the one thing that I took from this was at one point Corey says, and I had to write it down because I was kind of laughing at it, where he's like, "No one's ever hurt me more than this in my entire life." It's like, really? No one in your
Who said this? Corey?
Corey says this to Michelle, where she like called him a liar or something. It's like, no one's ever hurt me more than this in my entire life. And I'm for the dramatics on these shows. That's part of the appeal. It's very like a CW drama type show, but in your entire life, no one's ever hurt you this bad as your friend calling you a liar on a TV show where you're competing against her for money. Your whole life. That's a blessed life. I
wish
I'll have my feelings hurt by a barista when they say my name wrong. Like, what do you mean? Your whole life? But that is some testament to like how strong their friendship is outside of the game, which I think is something that's important and is sort of lacking. A thing that I do miss though is when they would show when they're like, oh, we're friends outside of the house, and then they show clips of them being friends, or they're like, we had drama last season or a few seasons ago, and they show a clip of that because
flashbacks.
Yeah, some of us have the memory of a goldfish cracker, and I'm like, what do you mean they had a fight? I don't remember that. But they're like, oh, they had Twitter beef. I'm like, I wasn't paying attention in that 10 seconds that was relevant.
You know who Michelle reminds me of? I've not seen anybody, at least off the top of my head, make this comparison before, and I don't know if it's just me. I see a lot of striking similarities to Paula Walnuts with Michelle. I think it's the paranoia within the game, and like sort of the same like humor and commentary. Like I think Paula is also. I think it's an East Coast thing. That's what I think it is. It's an East Coast thing. I'm pretty sure Paula. Yeah, Paula was a New Yorker, New Jersey. Michelle's a New York. Like, I think they have the same, like, sense of humor, same comments, like, the paranoia, like, sort of the same, like, style of game, too. Like, they're both not, like, physical, like, threats, like, these Hulk, like, but, like, if they made a final, they would be a threat. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's so, my comparison is I usually compare her to Nany.
Okay.
Like, she feels very much like a Nany archetype, but then I think that Alyssa Lopez sort of takes over that Nany archetype. And I say archetype in the sense that I think, all reality shows, once they find someone that's like sort of like a golden character, to cast, they sort of will base that later on when they're casting further on. So, like, they had Carolyn last season on Survivor, and, now they have Kendra, who's sort of like the loopy, entertaining amount of chaos and weird, and I love it. And so I do like that there's sort of like your comparison of Michelle and Paula is perfect. Wow.
Listen, I'm glad you feel this way, because I think a lot of other people like didn't quite get the comparison, but if you really crunch your brain here, it's like striking similarities. Like
yeah, I was sort of getting an Aesop vibe. Is very much like, I feel like, earlier season Turbo.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, yeah, I do see, like, probably like War of the Worlds 1 Turbo, I'd say, more so.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think Turbo's, a better competitor than Aesop is, and probably a little more, like, angrier. Well, a lot more angrier. But
does scare me.
Yeah, fair, just a tad, you know.
I wouldn't want to piss him off. But
Um,
I think that he sort of I'm gonna give this to Turbo, and I think this with a lot of the international competitors where English isn't their first language. I think that culture plays a really big part
mhm,
in these sort of games where it's like even when you have US competitors on on Survivor Australia, where it's like even the culture there is different,
right.
you know. And I'm not saying like food wise culture is different, like religion wise culture is different. It's just like social aspects are different in every country.
Mhm.
You know, I'm Canadian, and like I say like and a and sorry a lot. You know, I just get told to go fuck myself in Chicago if I like sneeze the wrong way. Like,
Oh, forget
and
it
I'm
in
all
New
for
York.
that.
In New
Oh,
York, you
I actually kind of thrive in New York. Like,
really?
oh,
Wow.
I'm all for just like flipping people off and crossing the street whenever I want. I live in polite New York, in Toronto, so
Okay.
like very different. But I think that like Turbo, getting to my point with it, Turbo sort of things are very different in Turkey than they are in America. So like
Mhm.
that whole fight with him and Jordan a few seasons ago, where he's like, "You're not going to copy my walk," and I was like, he was doing the Conor McGregor billionaire strut, but maybe that's not something that's commonly known in Turkey. Like,
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm going to give him that, and I that's why I think it always goes back to this like it feels like War of the Worlds 3 this season, where it's like US versus international. And that sort of seems like easy pickings to me.
Mhm. A little bit.
I don't I
Who,
don't,
who,
I don't love
who,
it, but
mhm. Who does like Nikki the fan or Nikki the producer, I should say. Like if you both. Um who for you like so far? We're about a little past I think I'd say like a quarter of the season through. Who for you like cast member wise has like stood out as like people that like you kind of feel like okay, like I think they've from a from like sort of an entertainment perspective, like you feel like they're probably people that you'd like to see as like mainstays going forward so far.
I'm very biased. I love Melissa. Everyone should go listen to your
Oh,
interview with Melissa. By the way, if you haven't already, go do so. Mike did
yes.
an incredible interview with her. I adore her. I think she's such good TV. She's not afraid to like get right in your face, which I love. I didn't. I was very much like in the comments on Instagram when Berna had like called her a bully because I had assumed, and I was right. It was just like a big misunderstanding,
Mm-hmm.
and like the way they had edited it, like they show like Big T and Melissa laughing about something, and I'm like, I don't think they're laughing about her dancing, but I get it. You know, I've been drunk and done stuff like done some done been dancing or like fallen or something, and I'm like, oh my god, all these people are laughing at me. They're making fun of me. But
Mm-hmm.
like what you have to remember, and something I think is really good advice self-esteem wise, is like if you're thinking, oh my god, these people are laughing at me, they're making fun of me, what they're actually thinking is they're thinking that you're laughing at them, you're making fun of them. Like everyone's just as concerned about themselves as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something you have to remember.
Right.
But again, Melissa, such good, like so good for this. Michelle, I knew as soon as she was on there that she would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Asaf, I want to see more of.
Same.
Like, absolutely want to see more. I think Zara is sort of underrated at this point. I think she could give us more. Right now, she's
Mm-hmm.
sort of not giving me enough.
Right.
Um, I don't, and I think if I'm gonna like people I'm like kind of okay with not seeing that often.
Feel free.
I know you didn't ask, but again, hater to my core. Not big on Jay. Because okay, you won one elimination against CT. I'm not saying he's not a good competitor, but it's like I'm gonna need something more. It feels like the same thing every season from him,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not something that I want to keep watching. Corey Lay annoys me, but you know he brings he brings a certain
He's
something
involved
to the
at
show.
least. Like
Yeah.
that's another comparison. I mean, like people might get like annoyed at me for saying this, but I feel
Fuck
like
'em.
yeah, fine.
Don't listen then. I don't know.
Yeah. They've got sort of. I see a little bit of Corey in like probably like Battle of the Seasons, Rivals 2, Frank, like a little bit.
Yep. I
Like
can 100% see
like
that.
like Frank did like Frank said like a lot like worse stuff obviously at that point and was probably a little bit more entertaining of TV objectively, but
Yeah.
but like Corey does kind of like in terms of like how they both went about the game sort of similar. Like so I'd go as far as to say like from just an objective entertainment standpoint, I think Corey's probably at least like the first or second like male like on the cast so far this season.
Yeah. In terms of, actually bringing something to the show. I don't want to
Mhm.
see any more Berna. I just can't stand her. I couldn't stand her from her first season that she was on. Like, go back to your circus, you clown. I'm done. For anyone that doesn't know, she was actually in the circus.
Oh, okay. I
That's...
might have known that. I just didn't know off the top
See,
of my head.
you might have remembered that if she had been like a memorable person for it at all. And then if I think about it, like no one else is really standing out to me to like want to see more of.
I want
And
to
I
see like
think
a
that,
Huey again, you know?
oh my god, he's like, I think he was saying that on with Devin and Davon on their podcast, he was like talking about how someone had said that he's not athletic, so he like shouldn't be on the show.
Yeah, it was
I was
Zara.
like, no, I want to see it. I need more than just physically good competitors. And I'm not saying I don't want to see physically good competitors on here.
Yeah.
I think Raven's really good physically, but she's been too quiet. Let me see more.
Right.
Nurys is just like, I don't know, she's good TV.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see more of Olivia always. I have to say that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Olivia. She's charismatic for TV. She's a good competitor. And I think she's just fun. Again, I'm biased with her. She's like so sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think with this, I want to just kind of talk about the daily challenge.
I liked this one.
Yeah, no, same. Like, again, I think because like it's something that's, again, it's not like you don't have to be like this Hulk of an athlete to just tackle somebody basically, in like a mud pit. I liked that we had this, and I think that there was because it wasn't just like physical, like there was some mental involved too, like the numbers and whatever.
What was it called? Bingo Bango.
Bingo bango.
I
Yeah.
think they should have called it like Dirty Bingo or something.
Well, that if this was set like 7 years ago, that probably would have been the name. 30-30 time probably.
Oh,
They don't
I
do
love
that stuff anymore for licensing reasons, I feel like. I don't
That's...
know that to be a fact, so don't quote me on it, but that's just kind of like
Bingo
what
Bango? I think that's such a ridiculous
sounds
name.
like the name of like a yeah, you ever drink like one of those like energy drinks like the Rain or Bangs? Like that sounds like a name like of one of like an energy drink.
Of
Bingo
one I wouldn't
Bango.
buy. I'd be like,
Well, suit yourself because I
that's what you got in your red cup there, your solo cup.
Yeah,
You're like, this is Bingo Bango.
More of a Monster Ultra guy myself, but that's a story for a different day.
Oh man, your poor drywall you punched through. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But yeah, no, this daily challenge was cool. We saw vintage Melissa. In fact, so much so that this is just a spoiler because I think by the time this is up, my tweet will have already been posted. So don't steal it, Nikki, please, because I already have the schedule to drop. Like, don't steal my material here. So I'm about to. It's it's a picture from the daily of Melissa and Nurys fighting, obviously, and then it's like Nurys saying like in quotes like don't fucking kick me. And then it's the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of him pointing at the TV, and it says Sylvia watching this episode.
I love that. Because the Sylvia Melissa elimination is like one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best, like not just like female eliminations, just all time eliminations.
Because like they're giving it their all. I feel like sometimes I'm watching either like a daily or an elimination, and I'm like, okay, but are you even trying?
Right.
Do you want this money? I don't understand. Like, I understand getting the like defeated mindset. I've been there. Not on the challenge, but I've had a defeated mindset before where I'm like, I don't want to do this. There's always room to quit.
Yeah. There's no shame.
That's always an option. No.
Wouldn't be the first nor the last.
I think there is shame in quitting on these shows where it's like you've essentially like taken a spot from someone else.
Right.
That could be competing. But like, Melissa brought the claws out this time, and I was a little disappointed that it took them her and Big T so long to realize they were being sabotaged. Like the other teams were actively working to make sure they didn't win so they could put, both of them in or one of the two of them into elimination. I was like, it can't really be taking you this long to realize that.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that like from a viewer's perspective, seeing like these are probably like the two cast members that I'm probably like most invested in on this season, seeing them targeted. So fun. Yeah, no, like
so much.
It's a shame to kind of like you almost like know that like I don't want to be the guy to say this, but their days are numbered. Whether it's today, tomorrow, or next week, like. There's really no end game for them as far as like they'd have to like go in and win every single elimination at this point. It seems like going forward. I wish they threw them a little bit of a casting bone because they kind of just have each other there, and like they're so like I feel like Big T did like I think her last season prior to this with like Corey and Michelle and maybe like a few other of them, but like then she like took that break a little bit, so. They're both like not really well connected with the rest of the house, it feels like, and they kind of just have each other. So
which kind of sucks.
Yeah, like I wish they had like more of a casting bone. I just wish personally, I would have liked to see like I know like sort of the like unofficial theme is sort of like newer people that haven't won, but if you wanted to like get really funky with it, I would have had like Paulie, Amanda, like since they technically haven't won either, and had like yeah, they're veterans, but they still haven't won, so it still could have fit the theme criteria. I don't know.
If we're going by people that have competed on like a lot of seasons, like Big T would be a veteran. Isn't this like her like 5th season?
Yeah. Yeah, she did 34, 35, 36, 37.
I'm such a huge Big T fan. I love Big T. From her first season, she like gave me really like old school vibes to like how she does things, but she's just so like posh in the way she speaks. It's such a funny like dichotomy to like see the two things intercept. I love her. I felt so bad watching her run into that little pit to go get the bingo bango balls or whatever they are. I felt that it was giving me flashbacks to like her having to go against Cam in that one elimination like a few seasons ago. I was like, oh no, like girl.
Yeah, from what it's seemingly gathered, Melissa said in like my interview with her, like this was like Big T's like least favorite season that she's been a part of. So, do with that info what you will. Yeah. Hopefully this doesn't leave any type of stain on her going forward as far as like whether deterring her from wanting to come back is what I'm trying to get at here. Hopefully we see her like I just hope in the future seasons if she's on that she has like more people just other than Melissa there to kind of like help her out a little bit.
She's got to be careful. She got that Twitter beef with Corey Lay going on. If we get another rival season,
well, that's two things. I'm glad you brought up rival seasons, but I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a minute. the preview, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, the preview for next week, that Twitter beef seemingly is going to come to a head, if you catch my drift.
Oh,
But,
yeah. It's...
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, we need that, though, because that was, like, a staple of the, like, Dirty 30 era, like, Dirty 30, Final Reckoning era. It's like all the Twitter, like, almost in a sense, at one point in time, was a staple of like challenge drama. Hell, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it basically set up like multiple rivals pairings in the past. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So,
and I miss that because I like it. I like a good rivalry where it's like
we see it.
Like, I want to see it, and I like it when it's mutual. I'm gonna throw some shade at Josh here when he was like, "Wes is my rival," and Wes is like, "Who?" But I like it when it's like a really mutual thing, and you can tell there's like when it's a rivalry that comes from a place of like they thought that they were actually friends.
Right. Like there's
and
some like
I do believe that
behind
that Corey believes he was friends with Big T and Melissa, and that I believe that Melissa and Big T believe they were friends with Corey.
Right.
And it's also a lot of, it's a lot of tone issues too, because like in a tweet I could say, "Hey Mike, nice shirt," and you're gonna read that however you're thinking it. So you're gonna either read it as, "Hey, nice shirt," or "Nice shirt." So like I think that like a tweet war, a tweet rivalry is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of gauge what's actually going on. But these two, they don't like each other. And that's fine with me. Let me see the drama.
Yeah, well, after this episode, when it comes to rivals themes, this is going to be another one of my tweets, but basically I think that Melissa and Nurys, if we ever get like a same-sexed rivals pair...
I'm not gonna say that.
What are you, bananas on vendettas writing notes?
I'm taking notes of what tweets to steal.
Oh.
I think Nurys and Olivia would be rivals.
Well, we still have to see what that looks like, though. We just know it exists, but we haven't actually seen it like come to be yet. So that's one to keep bookmarked. But I think based on stuff we have seen after this episode, Melissa and Nurys, that's another thing I'm glad we got to see. Like, we need some of that too. Like.
And I'm gonna give Melissa the same like kudos that Aesop was getting, where it's like a parent comes in and is still like given the drama.
She is the barometer at this point for like moms that return to the show. I feel.
First of all, she made a final. Vienna, her child, made a final. She was pregnant with Vienna when she was doing that final. She's the only one that has a kid that's made a final.
Listen. I mean, by this logic, though, I mean, does Nany deserve, like, some residuals? Because technically, her elimination loss to Melissa would technically be a 2-on-1 then. I don't think that's that fair.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Just,
I always give Nany her kudos. I love Nany.
Just some food for thought there, but... we get to the deliberation now.
We should note that they threw Melissa in.
Yeah, they oh yeah, right. They at the end of the daily challenge they threw
the red team won.
The red team won. They threw Melissa in.
Kylan did not want that.
Kylan did not want that. They're I don't even know if their showmance is still I think we see like
I doubt it. I doubt it's like still a thing. Like Kylan he's one of those guys, he moves through cast members. I'm like, all for him. Melissa does the same thing. I love it.
Right.
Love a good hookup.
Yeah. So Melissa's voted in, obviously, so we kind of like know that already off the bat. And then she's been kind of going around trying to campaign to get people to throw Raven down into elimination, so that way it's not like Big T. Was that like? Do you think that was under the? Do you think she was trying to get Raven thrown in like under the assumption that she like wouldn't want to go against her best friend, or just like she just didn't want Big T in harm's way? Period.
I think she didn't want Big T in harm's way.
Okay, because
I don't think it's anything personal against Raven. I think that she was just trying to protect Big T, and like Raven seemingly has less numbers than say, like, she's not gonna be like, oh, throw Michelle in,
Right.
like, because Michelle clearly has the numbers to be doing well.
Well, I think that well, I mean, I'm gonna get to this in a moment, but I would have much rathered like I don't want Big T and Melissa to go against each other per se, but
No,
like I don't want that, but I feel like
I think Big T would let Melissa win.
probably, yeah. I think that there would be more stakes though if this deliberation was deciding who's facing each other rather than like who's going into a deliberation to then face a mercenary that's coming in. Now that they know there's mercenaries coming in, I feel like that takes away from the stakes a little bit for me personally.
Yeah, it's also frustrating because it's like they're like, okay, we like they were like, okay, we want to get rid of Melissa or we want to get rid of Big T, and then it's like, okay, but you're also getting rid of $10,000. What's more important to you? Because like if I'm, and this is not any shade towards Big T, but like if I'm choosing like keep Big T around or keep $10,000 or like get rid of $10,000, I'm keeping Big T around. She's sort of slim pickings to like take out later in a different elimination.
Yeah.
Don't you want that?
Right. You can keep building your bag up, and then when it comes time to it.
Yeah, you can just get rid of her because we don't have any of this like skulls nonsense.
Thank God.
Oh, I
never want to see a skull again. I don't want to.
No. I hate it. It's so stupid. And like I understand the concept of it. It's where it's like people are afraid to go into elimination. Yeah, I don't want to go into elimination.
They only did that because Cara and Paulie like broke the system like on the season.
Cara's Colt. Yep.
Yeah.
So
no,
silly.
but yeah, the I don't know. I'm probably in the minority here for the most part, but I'm not a huge mercenary guy on this particular season. It'd be a different. I said if they were gonna do a mercenary twist at all, it would have been cool if they brought in non-champions and they could win their way into the game. That'd be the only way I'd be fine with it. Because I feel like it'd be like, okay, they've got stakes at least. These are all people who haven't won before. They're trying to win their way into the game at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're kind of just giving out appearance checks to all these people that don't care and have won already. And they're just coming in and taking out people we actually, in most cases, like, such as, like, potentially this episode, Big T almost had an opportunity to get taken out. And I just feel like I'd rather see like the cast members that are integral to the story and like the actual like gameplay go at it rather than like some outsider who has no stake in the game other than like money to come in and just take somebody out. I don't know. I don't like it.
No, I wanted like, yeah, I want some sort of stakes to be there. Like, I don't know, maybe somebody's outside partner, like romantic partner, comes in, and then it's like, what if their friend is down there against them? Then it's like, are you rooting for your friend to stay and for you to keep $10,000, or are you rooting for your romantic partner to come in, or like, you know, just people that have better like connections. Right. I also like I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I want to tell you my theory on what that like third pole or sword or whatever the hell it is. I think, and I've done a pretty good job of just like, you know, forgetting all the spoilers I've seen this season. So
because we got these in May and June, so like they're kind of like almost far and gone. If you like,
I've forgotten, which is fantastic. I'm so happy about that because usually I like remember like who wins what elimination, and like I'm like so frustrated, but like I've just completely forgotten, and I'm sure anyone who knows me now that like wants to sabotage me is gonna like text me after they hear this, and I'm gonna be like, here's who won. Please don't do that.
Yeah, give her a break, you know.
Yeah, I will come into your house and break all your phone chargers. I will do something that's really menacing. But I think what the third poll is, whatever it is, I think it's going to be Mercenary's choice. So I think they're going to get to pick anyone.
There you go.
They want up there. What I think too. Right?
Yeah,
I think
it only makes
stupid
sense
if they like pull it out and it's like those two people have to go against each other. Like whoever the two people are that got sent down there, and the mercenary doesn't play. I think that'll be really stupid, and that'll piss me off. Or like TJ's choice or something that'll piss me off.
The handler's choice.
He is not the handler. It's not him. It's not Chelsea. He's not Chelsea Handler. Don't piss me off.
No, I could have done without the mercenaries. And I mean this I mean this particular episode in like no shade whatsoever. Kaz seems like a very lovely person, and she's definitely a good competitor. But like, I thought it was a interesting choice to have somebody who hasn't won on MTV's franchise, like flagship franchise itself, to kind of come in as like a mercenary on the flagship show. Like, does that make sense? Like,
it does make sense, because like even all the competitors, the crowd, like nobody was like, "Oh my God, it's Kaz!"
Like there was,
Zara was just like, "Hey,
like it was probably like production standing behind the camera, like now, cheer now.
I couldn't even tell who it was. Like when Kaz was coming out, I sort of like, I thought it was Laurel at first, based on like the hair, because I was like trying to figure out who it was, and I was like, oh, and then it was Kaz. Like, I like Kaz.
Yeah. I
was actually kind of surprised to see her on there, given the like controversy she has with her cocaine charges.
Oh shit! I don't know. I'm under a complete rock, so I wouldn't. Anyways.
Oh.
That's a discussion for a different time.
Surprised to see her even like on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess like they don't. They brought Jordan on, and Jordan was openly racist at one point. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. I like not even like in a shady way, like at all. I just think like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity to not have like. If you're going to have a mercenary at all, because I would have just not had him, but to not have like a Rachel or somebody kind of come in, like, because you've got all these like quote unquote like recognizable faces and people who have won like this particular show, like the flagship show. Like Kaz won like the spin-offs, cool. This particular show, I mean, I just think it was kind of a miss.
And I'm not taking anything away from Kaz's win, but like. They shot the UK one in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was very short, and granted, it's because the Queen died, so they had to shorten it. But it was like it was very quick. It felt like a very rushed season as is.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just went on and won the world one, and like again, not taking anything away from her wins, but she's not as well known.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like they.
I think that sort of takes something away from the mercenaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a mercenary hater at this point.
I don't think that there's like really a need for it. Like I would like it if it was sort of like Invasion of the Champions. Why didn't they just do Invasion of the Champions too?
Yeah, exactly. That'd been much better. I just like I told you before, I think it's like a marketing thing, truthfully. I think that they just kind of were like, all right, we're gonna kind of be like shit out of luck here if we don't have anybody to like throw in like a fancy trailer 1 week to like pop a rating or so.
I think they're gonna wait to bring in a mercenary that's on All Stars 4. And then show like a special preview of that season.
Yeah, can we have that too? By the way, like,
it's been like they filmed it like last year.
They filmed it. They departed on January 14th, and they had wrapped filming by like I think the week after Valentine's Day. So
I was still hungover from New Year's on the 14th. What do you mean? I'm gonna be hungover from this New Year's by the time I get to see it.
So you're gonna be hungover for a year straight, and this thing will still.
Right. I mean, to be fair, I haven't been drinking all November.
Okay, there we go. Got to throw the flex in at some point.
I had to. It's only like November's almost over, so I'm gonna take that as a win.
Yeah, no, tomorrow, I mean, it's really going to test my patience because it's a bar crawl where we're at. It's like the night before Thanksgiving in the U.S. Or I don't know if it's everywhere in the U.S., but it's definitely over here.
Oh.
So
I always find I get drunker in the States than I do in Canada.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Or does it not make sense? I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying things.
I feel like for me, it doesn't make sense because the Canadian dollar to the American dollar
Is
is like,
more.
oh my God, I think it cost me like $70 to send $50 US
Oh.
on PayPal or something. It's ridiculous. I'm always like,
I
oh, this is cheaper here, and I just like tap my card, and then I get home, and I'm like, oh, I spent $48 at Carl's Jr. on one burger. Sweet.
they don't have Venmo in Canada, right?
We don't have Venmo, we don't have Cash App,
I
but we
wouldn't
have
survive.
email transfer, which is like way better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
Because
can just like send electronic money like that. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge PayPal person, but I use it when
No one
I'm
is.
doing. Yeah, no, it's shit.
Like, no one is.
Did you have anything else that you thought that you'd like to talk about with this episode, or do you think we're
I'd like to note, so Big T wins, which is I made me so happy to see, one, because I'm a Big T fan, two, because
Mhm.
I like to see like the unexpected sort of occur on there, because like everything was sort of rooting against her, and I loved her strategy of this. So they had to like roll in a barrel or something like on their side, sort of like moving around like a fucking
Yeah.
caterpillar in a cocoon or something, and move all these puzzle pieces towards there, and then they would do the puzzle. But Big T, so her strategy, which was great, was to bring all the puzzle pieces to one area and then bring them back one by one, which is smart because they're all spread out. And then Kaz, fortunately, didn't think that through too much, and I think maybe her head got a little too big for her. Not physically, because I think that would have helped, but I think her head got too big for her, and she was like, I've never lost. I'm going up against someone that's like, half my
perceived
size.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was sort of like, I think ego got in the way too much. And I think that's a lot of the reason why she lost. Again, not taking a win away from Big T. She won that fair and square.
2-0 on the season in eliminations. You know what? I think we're gonna have to remove the T and just start calling her Big W at this point.
Oh yeah. Get a big toe. Get her some fresh cotton pads. She's killing it. I did like to see how upset everyone was that like Big T was coming back. Yeah, and it's like, shouldn't you be more thankful she saved you $10,000? I was kind of hoping there would be some sort of twist where TJ would be like, okay, Big T, so I'm going to give you an option now. Do you want to keep the $10,000? Or do you want it to go back to the rest of the house, into the pot?
So I just go to her only.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, that would have been a pretty cool like. They should start just hiring you to come up with like some concepts, because honestly, if it seems like people just don't really think over some things.
No, and it was like it's frustrating to me because I'm like, you should give her more power over her win.
Right.
Like, because she took out a mercenary.
Yeah, that should hold some weight to it. It doesn't have to be like that every elimination with the money, but like just if you beat a mercenary.
Yeah, you should get to choose.
Right.
Like, do you want to keep the money? Like, it'll just be in your pot. So if you win, you win $10,000 extra, or whether or not you win, you get to keep that $10,000 and take it with you. So I think that's another thing I miss about like older challenges is like when they would do a daily and they were like, yeah, you could win like $5,000 or something. I mean,
or an Xbox.
Yeah, or a sidekick, sidekick phone,
or a Game Boy.
Oh, I would be so happy with that. I'd be like, yes, give me that. Now
honestly,
it's like, you win Whoppers for a year. How many Burger Kings are there in the States? I have to know.
Burger Kings?
Are there lots?
I mean, shit. If we're just talking in my area alone, there's probably about 3 within like fucking 10 miles of me. So
I can tell you where I think one Burger King is in the city. And
do you not like Burger King?
I like Burger King. It's just like it's quite rare here.
Yeah. It gets a really bad like rap here. There's not a lot of people that like it, if I'm being honest. Wendy's is actually the closest to me, but I've got like a lot of fast food around me. But Wendy's, being objective here, not to get too far off base, but Wendy's probably patty wise, if I'm being objective, has like the best like burgers out of all like all the 3 main, like the Burger King, McDonald's, when like that grouping got the best, burgers. But I like Burger King though. So
I get a lot of hate because people are like, In-N-Out's the best burger, and I'm like, no, I think Shake Shack has the best burger.
I still never have. I have to try Shake Shack. I've never actually tried.
It's so good. Like, you froze a little bit there, so I'm like, let me pause myself.
Oh,
there we go. Oh, now I'm really hungry. I want Burger King now.
Yeah, no, you might have to go drive to that one location to go and get one.
Great, it'll only take me 4 hours in this city.
Yeah, it's no big deal. You got time.
Yeah.
By the time you get back, I mean, All Stars 4 will still not be out yet, so I mean, it's not like
Perfect.
Yeah. Not like you're missing anything important. Scream 7 will be out before All Stars 4.
I'm okay with that. I'd go see both of them in theaters. I think that there
You'll
should be...
see All Stars 4 in theaters?
I would love to go watch like the premiere of like a challenge in a theater. I think that would be like a really fun event.
I need to see a WrestleMania in theaters. That's what I need to see.
I've been going to a lot of like indie wrestling shows lately in my city. Oh, I love it. I just love screaming screaming obscenities at speakers. Because it's so fun because everyone gets so into it, which is, I'm going to bring it back to the challenge, don't worry here. I love crowd cheering. I don't think they should be silent during it. I think it brings a lot to it.
Mm. No, yeah,
I don't think they should be helping them, but
I'm kind of like, oh wait, you're talking about like with, are you talking about crowd cheering with the challenge, like helping? Oh, okay.
So I don't think they should be helping them in the sense I don't think they should be helping them like win the elimination, but I think it really brings something to like hear no one cheering for you and still win.
Yeah. No, I think crowd cheering adds like I don't know. I think it adds like a level of like excitement to what's going on, like as a viewer, because it like feels like more dramatic. Like if you're seeing other people like stressed about or excited over.
It's good background noise because you have to remember the music is put in during editing. So I always laugh when like I'm watching like, you know, them do a daily or something. It's just silent for them.
Yeah, you could hear a snail fart
outside. Yeah. It's just quiet for them. Yeah. Like it's probably not as exciting. Just like hear mud moving around.
Yeah, speaking of mud, they never like elaborated on it, but do you remember when Raven pointed out like what is that crawling in like the mud pit?
I hope it was shit. I want it to be shit so bad.
Yeah, I think that's what they did say it was.
Yeah, I wanted it to be shit so bad. That's so funny.
Probably was. No, but
Survivor, it would be an idol or something.
Yeah. Well, this was actually a ton of fun, believe it or not. I think we talked about a lot. It. Yeah, like we talked not only about challenge stuff, but we kind of, even talked about some other stuff too. It makes me feel like we need like a separate podcast of sorts.
We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, for sure. And especially during All Stars as well. That's probably gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I'll see you in 3 years.
See you down the road.
Big T's gonna be on it by then.
Yeah, by that point, But thanks again. This was a ton of fun. I can't wait to put this thing out.
Thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, wait. You don't celebrate.
Yeah, that was last month.
Happy late Thanksgiving.
Happy All Stars by the time this
Thanks.